Martha, is this really the Mustang your husband drove at 16?
Yes, it's been 20 years. She looks like a ghost now.
Don't worry, we're bringing that legend back to life today.
Please help me find the beauty in her again, Martha had whispered, her voice trembling like a leaf in the wind as she leaned heavily on her worn wooden cane, standing before the skeletal remains of the abandoned 1969 Ford Mustang, standing there. In the dim light of that old barn, looking at that ghost of a car, I realized that the 20 years of thick barn dust and corrosive bird droppings burying this V8 legend were far more than just a messy exterior. It was the physical weight of a lifetime of memories that had been left to rot in the dark. Brandon, the owner, had possessed this car since he was only 10 years old, a childhood dream bought by his father that he eventually drove through his reckless youth until the day life got too busy and the Mustang was parked in this barn for what he thought would be just a few months. His wife Martha stood there, her hair silvered by the passage of time, her eyes fixed on the cracked and brittle black paint, as if she were searching for the reflection of the young man she had fallen in love with 50 years ago. I saw a woman who had spent her life as the backbone of her family, and I knew that if I did not get this vehicle restored or at least cleaned to its former glory, I would be failing a legacy that everyone else in town had already called a lost. 'Cause the Mustang was an absolute disaster zone on the inside. The overwhelming smell of decaying mouse nests and old gasoline hit me like a brick wall the moment I pried open the heavy door, and the carpets were some of the most stomach-turning I have ever encountered in my career. Every square inch was seriously stained and literally buried under piles of rat poison and decades of rodent filth that had matted the industrial fibers completely together. There were nasty, grimy messes in the cup holders and across the classic dashboard that were truly hard to even look at, but every time I scraped a layer of hardened mud and barn debris away from the floor panels, I was not just cleaning an old Ford, I was unearthing the tangible evidence of Brandon and Martha's dedicated life. I found an old crusty watch buried deep under the driver's seat, a relic Brandon thought he had lost 40 years ago, along with the rotted-out bodies of 3 baby mice that their mother had likely abandoned in the cold many winters ago. I did not treat these items as garbage. I handled them with respect, because each one was a silent witness to a first date, a Sunday drive, or a midnight escape that this couple had performed together without complaint. I spent 13 very long and grueling hours meticulously unbolting the heavy seats from underneath the chassis and using the industrial steamer to blast out the caked-on grime from the interior crevices, because it was impossible to reach the filth hidden in the seat tracks otherwise. The amount of black sludge and toxic dust I extracted from those fibers was staggering, and for hours the only sound in my studio was the steady, rhythmic hum of the extractor and the heavy, hopeful silence of a woman who feared her husband's beast was now just a permanent ghost. As the water in my machine turned dark and foul, proving just how much neglect had been trapped in those seats, I took my extra time with the vinyl top, applying specialized conditioners to revive the material that the barn heat had tried to crack. I used a microfiber cutting pad to polish the heavily oxidized paint, being incredibly careful because the finish was so brittle it could blast off with a single wrong move. When I finally finished the chrome bumpers, polishing them until they caught the light like a mirror, the transformation was incredible, and seeing that black paint shine again felt like a victory over the darkness that had tried to swallow Martha's past. She told me that seeing the Mustang look new again made her feel like a massive weight had been lifted from her own heart, as if the decay of the car was a reflection of her own aging process. But seeing that V8 beast ready to roar again gave her back a sense of pride she thought was buried in the barn forever. It is never just about the stains. It is about acknowledging that our history is worth the effort, and that even when our bodies are tired, we need a cane to stand. Our legacy deserves to be polished until it shines. 13 hours of labor to trade for the tearful smile of a woman who never gave up hope is a price far too cheap for me. But what about you? If you found your first love or your family's greatest treasure rotting in a barn for 20 years, would you spend the time and sweat to restore it, or would you let the past fade into the shadows? Comment your choice below and let me know, are you ready to see your own legacy shine again?